Hey, greetings. Hi there. I'm Dr. Walter Jacobson. I'm a board certified psychiatrist. This is my Blog Talk Radio live broadcast show, Forgive to Win, spiritual techniques and cognitive tools to achieve happiness, physical well-being, and material success. It's a live call-in show. If you're listening right now, while we're broadcasting, call in. Let's get a conversation going. You got any questions about life, relationships, anything, your difficulties, self-esteem, self-sabotaging behaviors? You got a question, I got an answer. But if you're not obviously listening live, consider calling in at the next show and getting on board by going to the Blog Talk Radio Forgive to Win, and you'll be informed of when the next shows are. Okay, let's get to it. Let's get to the power of positive thinking, positive psychology. Okay, basically the idea is this. Positive psychology works. Thinking positive works. Okay, people have a tendency to, hey, excuse me, I gotta slide this over. Okay. People have a tendency to think that being negative is a good idea, that it's going to protect you, it's going to keep you safe, that if you're negative and cynical and pessimistic, then you know what to expect. It's simply being realistic. And that, and therefore you're going to watch out for danger and you're going to protect yourself and everything's going to be great. Everything's not great. Negative thinking, cynicism, and pessimism doesn't make you smarter or wiser. It makes you stupider. Keeps your head in a dark cloud. Actually puts blinders on. Gives you tunnel vision. So you're actually blind to all sorts of opportunities and potentials because your field is narrowed by darkness, by negativity, by self-doubt, by other doubt. Other people saying it can't be done. So you saying it can't be done. So basically, negative thinking really gets you nowhere. It doesn't protect you. It doesn't keep you safe. It actually makes things worse. You can be very vigilant. You can be very aware. You can be very in tune with your environment, with the pros and cons, with the good, the bad, the obstacles in your way. You can be very realistic and pragmatic and practical. Being positive, being optimistic, being hopeful is still the wiser way to go. It's wiser on so many levels. First of all, when you're positive and optimistic and despite some of your struggles and difficulties, you are putting out positive energy. And that positive energy is going to influence other people to want to work with you and want to help you. And it's going to attract positive people, circumstances, and situations into your life. It's going to generate more positive thoughts from the universe, from the collective unconscious. When you brainstorm and your mind is open rather than shut down with negativity and darkness. So positive thinking works. It is practical, it is reasonable, it is very smart, it's expansive rather than contracting. Negative thinking is contracting. Just for fun, let me just talk about Peter Pan, right? In the Peter Pan story, he wants to take the kids to Never Land, and he's got to fly them there. How are you going to fly? Well, you got to think lovely thoughts. Candy, ice cream, gumdrops. Yeah, but point being, that's just an analogy, that's just a metaphor. You really want to fly in life, think lovely thoughts, think positive thoughts, and you're going to get a lot further. You're going to fly, you're going to soar. Okay, the power of positive thinking really is the law of attraction. The whole idea of the law of attraction is, what you give is what you get. If you're thinking positive, you're going to attract positive. If you're thinking negative, you're going to attract negative and darkness and fear and doubt and shame and guilt and self-loathing and self-sabotage and self-victimhood and other victimhood. You think positive, you have positive thoughts, optimistic thoughts, hopeful thoughts, thoughts of success despite how many times you may have failed. You are going to energize. You are going to be charismatic. You're going to attract people to you. No question about it. If you indulge in negative thoughts of darkness, limitation, scarcity, lack, separation, fear, pessimism, and cynicism, the world you see is going to reflect your internal world. That's basically the bottom line. Ultimately, our world is a projection. Sounds kind of strange and magical and crazy, but it's true. Our world, reality, is a projection of our inner world, our inner reality. So the more you have an inner reality of positivity and positive energy and happiness and joy and love and compassion, the world you see is going to reflect that. Okay, what else can I tell you? Yes. The key to positive psychology is to replace negative with positive. And that's what makes positive psychology actually a form of cognitive therapy. The whole idea of cognitive therapy is that what you think is what you get. Negative thoughts are going to give you negative emotions, negative behaviors. Positive thoughts give you positive emotions, give you positive behaviors. So positive psychology and positive thinking is really a form of cognitive therapy. And the way you do the cognitive therapy, the way you heal yourself, a tool that anybody can use is simply to put a positive spin on everything you can. Replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. If you find yourself being cynical, and pessimistic, decide to become more optimistic and hopeful. If you're angry and depressed and anxious, try to be forgiving and accepting and loving and calm and gracious and grateful. You replace negative thoughts on any negative thought with any positive thought, you are ahead of the game. You find something positive despite life's difficulties, despite how you may be struggling. To just be walking around grumbling and being resentful and being angry and being bitter and being jealous and being envious, it's contracting. It contracts your mind. It contracts your energy. It makes you exhausted and fatigued. Okay, this is all one common theme here. You want to be happy. You want to be healthy. You want to be wealthy, spiritually wealthy, physically wealthy, materially wealthy, emotionally wealthy. Think lovely thoughts. Think positive. Rather than holding in resentments and anger and grievances and unforgiveness, decide to accept. Decide to forgive, decide to overlook, decide to love and be compassionate and generous. I keep saying this every week. Every week I keep pounding it. It's the same tune. It's different perspectives. Last time we talked about anxiety and panic attacks and how to control, but it's always the same thing. We have choices. We have choices in our mind to be happy or sad, to be angry and mad or loving and open and expansive. So you've got to make the choices in your head. When you make the choices in your mind to think lovely thoughts, your emotions become more positive rather than negative. And then the behaviors that you choose are also more positive and more expansive rather than contracting. When you have difficulty doing this, remind yourself that when you're happy and positive and optimistic, you're more likely to see the world in a better way. You're more likely to have people cooperate with you when you do this, and you're more likely to have better outcomes in your life in general. It is self-sabotaging and just foolish to be cynical and pessimistic and take some kind of like this is a badge of honor. Well, I'm an intellectually cynical and pessimistic, and I'm practical, and I'm just really wise with my cynicism and really clever with my negativity. Well, you're not. You're only fooling yourself. And if your ego is getting stroked by your own delusions of negativity and pessimism and cynicism being valuable, you're just kidding yourself. And if your ego is getting stroked by other people who think it's cool too to be just such a great skeptic and disbeliever, and there's no power, there's no strength there. I'm not saying that you should be blind to the realities. Let me say that again. Certainly you can be skeptical, but some people take skepticism to a whole other level, where really all they're doing is they're just filled with judgment and trying to represent themselves as being better than other people. Look at me, I know better. You're an idiot. I know what I know. Yeah, right. They all knew the world was flat too. Okay, so there you are. Okay, so what? Onward, your inner critic. Big deal, very big deal is the inner critic. The inner critic is a voice we all have. Some people have it more than others, but it's a voice, that's constantly there, spewing negativity, a litany of put downs and fatalistic pronouncements. You're not good enough. You're stupid. People don't really like you. Come on, it's not going to work out. It's pointless. Why even bother? You're a failure, you're a loser. We got this voice that's just kind of, yapping away at us, telling us that, what is it? It's just this negative voice. Oftentimes it's just an internalization of really shame messages we got when we were little, either which our parents and other people gave to us or threw upon us intentionally or unintentionally. and that we integrate it into our psyche, this low self-esteem messages, and now we don't have our parents or anyone else doing it to us. We're doing it to ourselves. Now we have the inner critic just saying, you're stupid, you're not good enough, it's not going to work out, why bother? And so then what happens? We don't bother. Yeah, what happens? We procrastinate. We put things off. We don't take that first step. We give up because that voice is telling us that you couldn't, come on, you really think you can succeed? You're an idiot. You really think you can succeed? There are people a whole lot smarter than you are. What do you got going? Nothing. You've never been lucky. You've never been fortunate. Things never work out for you. Why do you think they should work out now? That voice has to be silenced. That voice has to be stopped. You have to challenge the inner critic. First, you have to recognize that the inner critic is happening. Because a lot of times the inner critic is just automatic. It's just popping into your head, this whole litany of garbage and put downs, and we kind of take it for granted. To a large degree, we just think it's who we are. We think that's who we are. It's not. It's actually not who we are. It's actually not our personality. It's not our psyche. It's certainly not our higher self. It's our lower self. It's our reptile brain. It's our fear brain. It's our frightened little child that thinks it's protecting us by telling us to don't try. Oh, you try, you get out there and you fail. It'll be really humiliating. It'll be shaming. It'll be sad. It'll be painful. We'll keep you safe. Unfortunately, keeping you safe means hiding in your room under the bed. That's not cool. That's not fun. And you got to go out there. You got to take risks in life, and you can't let this inner critic, this put down voice, rule you. So the first thing you got to do is you got to recognize that this stuff is like automatic. You take it for granted, and now you got to recognize when you're running a game on yourself. You got to recognize when you're putting yourself down. You got to say no. No, I'm not going to do it. And no, shut up and go away and haunt somebody else. I don't want to hear that voice. Yeah, maybe you're trying to help me. Maybe you're trying to keep me safe. Thanks a hell of a lot, but I don't want your help anymore. If you can't say something nice to me, don't say anything at all. Go away. I know it sounds schizophrenic, like you got two voices in your head. One voice saying you're a good guy, another voice saying you're a loser. And yeah, it's not schizophrenia in the classic sense. I mean, you aren't paranoid and delusional, but you do have a sort of an alternative mind that is telling you stuff. It's not, that's whispering little messages in your head to derail you, to defeat you. And so you have to recognize that these labels aren't true. They aren't real. You got to challenge them. What's the evidence or data that I'm a big loser? Okay, yeah, all right. So maybe it's true that I haven't succeeded in the past, and maybe it's true I've made some mistakes, and maybe it's true that certain relationships have failed or certain enterprises have failed. But that only speaks to the past. It says nothing about now. It says nothing about the future. If you learn from your mistakes, if you do something different, right? Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. If you do something different, then all bets are off. Then any pronouncements about what a big loser you are is just baloney. Think about Edison. He's, right? The guy with the light bulb and the record players and the movies. He started out by being a big loser, being a big failure. 99 times he failed at inventing the light bulb until the 100th time he figured it out. Or it might even have been more than that. And he used to say, no, I haven't failed. I just found 99 ways that didn't work. Positive thinking. This guy didn't give up. He had faith in himself. He had faith in a vision. But the point is, if he had taken to heart the evidence that in the past he had failed, and then used that to defeat himself and give up, then right, we'd be in a cave right now. So you can't give into your past. You can't give the past power. The past does not predict the future unless you do the same thing. If you're making changes, doing different things, all bets are off. Okay, so you have to recognize that these inner critic messages are hollow. You've got to challenge them. You just can't afford negativity. You can't afford to be calling yourself names. You can't. You got to catch yourself when you're calling yourself names and tell yourself to stop it. And forgive yourself for calling yourself names. What else? Neutralizing your inner critic. Okay, first, step one, Be vigilant over your thoughts. Recognize the voice of the inner critic. Remind yourself that you are not your inner critic. That's not who you are. And replace every criticism, every negative thing the inner critic says with something positive, something uplifting, something hopeful. If your inner critic says you're not good enough, you tell it to shut up. You tell it you are good enough. You tell it that whether you're good enough or not good enough, you're going to give it your best shot. That's the deal. It doesn't matter if you usually fail or you always fail or you're going to fail or other people are smarter or wiser or better. It doesn't matter. I'm going ahead with my life. I'm going to take my best shot. I'm going to challenge my fear and take risks and risk, failing at a relationship or a job or a career or an enterprise. I'm going to take chances and I'll take my lumps. And if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to say I told you so. I'm going to pat myself on the back and say, good work. Congratulations for trying. Congratulations for stepping up to the plate and taking your shot and swinging away. Right? That old expression, if you step up to the plate, if you don't step up to the plate, you'll never strike out. Sure, there won't be any shame there, but you'll never hit a home run either. So that's the key to this. You tell your inner critic that you can appreciate it's been trying to help you, but no thanks. You'll deal with whatever the world hands you, and you'll be okay with that. Okay, so what else? You do it repeatedly. The inner critic will not go quietly into the night. The inner critic voice, it's been working its game for a very, very, very long time, and it kind of feels pretty comfortable about it, and it doesn't want to go away. So you've got to stay vigilant. You've got to stay at this. You've got these thought habits, these inner critic thought habits that you have to break. Well, how do you break a habit? You replace all that negative criticism, all that crap with positive perspectives. You put a spin on every negative voice message you've got, and you keep on doing it. You repeat it over again and over again and over again. You refuse to let the inner critic's voice have any impact or any intensity. And the more you do that, eventually it gets quieter and quieter, and eventually it kind of goes away. Yeah. Now, it may try to pop up with here and there saying, hey, you're a dummy, or that won't work. But you laugh it off. You discard it. It has no power to persist. Now, another thing about the inner critic thing is, like anything, if you find yourself caught up in any kind of negative thinking, you got to correct it and fix it. And then you got to distract yourself. You got to put your mind someplace else and not dwell on the ruminating negative thoughts. Okay. What you really want to do ultimately is what we're talking about doing is replacing your inner critic with what we call your inner colleague. Now, your inner colleague it's really your higher self. It's really that part of yourself that is wise, that knows what's best for you, and and can give you good advice. And the way to access your inner colleague, which for the most part we ignore, because we decided to bond the inner critic instead of our inner colleague, and we take all of our advice from him. But now to access your inner colleague, you've got to stop, look, and listen. Okay? Stop, look, and listen. Stop when you hear the voice of your inner critic assaulting you. Disengage from whatever you're doing. Kind of take a moment to yourself. Look calmly. Look calmly at the negative messages in your mind and reject them. Reject them. I'm not going to hear that. I don't want to hear negativity. And then you listen for the voice of your inner colleague to guide your decisions. And that's what we're doing when I tell you to replace the negative with the positive. And, initially, yes, this is a cognitive way to use your logic and your intellect. But I'm also talking about the inner colleague, which is not simply your own logic and reason to cognitively repair negative thinking. The inner colleague is a higher self. It is some place from the collective unconscious. It's from place of the universal wisdom of the universe. It comes from God or Buddha or whoever else you might or might not want to worship. It's powerful, information that's out there in the ether that you can draw upon when your mind is clear and calm. So when you stop the negativity and you look at you stop and you look at the negativity and you wash it away and you say all the positive things you can to repair that, and then get quiet and listen, and you just may hear, you just may get some ideas, may get some inspirations, about a better way to do things, a better way to look at things, a better way to do things, an idea that hadn't occurred to you, somebody that might align with you. Very powerful stuff, but you got to get quiet. You got to get calm. And you're not going to get quiet and calm until first you shut off that dark, negative inner critic voice. Okay. So, what? Okay, guidance from your inner critic. Guidance from your inner colleague. Really, what you're going to discover is that it's going to present you with all sorts of messages that you already inherently know, but it will reinforce them. And some of these are the idea of seeing the glass as half full versus half empty. Okay, it's really important that you cognitively do that, and then open your mind up to have your inner colleague support that. So first, again, if you're feeling like the glass is half empty, you're very pessimistic and negative, remind yourself there's always hope. Have faith in possibilities. Keep in mind that every cloud has a silver lining. You're going to want to look for it. You're going to want to find it. Always remember it's darkest before the dawn, so don't give up before the miracle happens. All these are little devices you want to tell yourself to strengthen yourself, to strengthen your resolve, to not let the inner critic take over. Sometimes things have to fall apart before they can come together. So don't equate setbacks with failure. Remember, setbacks are stepping stones to success. See obstacles as opportunities, right? Look for blessings in disguise. Look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Instead of thinking when you got a problem, this can't be done, ask yourself, how can I do it? And again, get quiet, and your inner colleague just may show you the way. Okay, it's really important to eliminate the negativity, because the negativity breeds depression and anxiety. And when you're depressed and anxious, you can't think clearly, and you're blocking the flow of universal wisdom and energy. Okay, what else? Happiness is a choice. Happiness itself. A lot of times people feel, well, how can I be happy? Work is hard. I have all these bills. I'm worried about losing my job. My back aches. Life is tough. Yeah, but the point is, yeah, all those things are true, or may be true, but you still have a choice to be happy or not, because in any one moment, the universe is what it is. Your life is what it is, and so you have a choice to laugh and smile and giggle and be playful and have fun and enjoy your friends and enjoy your family, even amidst very difficult, turbulent times and oppressive times and setbacks and failures and scarcity and lack. You do have a choice. Certainly it's difficult. Certainly when you're heaped upon with all sorts of, life stressors. But the smart money is to try to be happy and laugh and smile and enjoy yourself despite what's crashing all around you and despite the chaos around you. Because being negative and hopeless and depressed and withdrawn and contractive and isolating doesn't change all the crap that's swirling around you. It only actually makes things worse. Because if you have an optimistic, positive attitude and try to be happy and laugh and smile and engage with people and relate to people, again, you increase the potential for opportunity. You increase the potential for something positive and miraculous to happen. Miracles happen when love is involved. Miracles happen when forgiveness is involved, when compassion is involved, when joy is involved. So you really want to have all those thoughts in your mind and behave those thoughts in your world, and you got a lot better chance. Even if things don't change, you're going to be happier, and that's the whole point of life. Good, bad, or ugly. You try to be happy. You try to love your family. You try to make the most of it. You try to be the calm in the center of the storm. Okay, what else? I choose, some happiness mantras or affirmations. I choose to be happy regardless of how my inner critic is behaving towards me. I choose to be happy regardless of how people are behaving towards me. I choose to be happy regardless of how the world is behaving towards me in terms of market forces, natural disasters, accidents, illnesses, and other forms of misfortune that it may send my way. Every day and in every way, it becomes easier to shut down my inner critic and access my inner colleague. Every day and in every way, it becomes easier for me to choose happiness. These mantras, these affirmations, they do work because what they're doing is they're reinforcing positive messages, keeping them in your head. They're sending messages to your inner critic, to listen, that this is what you want, this is the reality that you want, that every day it becomes easier to be happy, that every day it becomes easier to be positive, that every day it becomes easier to be hopeful, every day it becomes easier to neutralize the inner critic. So you want to be sending these messages to your subconscious mind as much as possible. It doesn't take a lot of time or energy just to repeat these things a few times with intensity, with conviction, with passion. Right. It's Pollyanna. It's not Pollyanna. You don't have your head in the sand to be positive. It's not. You're not living in a magical fantasy world by being positive and optimistic and hopeful. It doesn't mean that you're being unrealistic and you're out of touch with reality. You can be very much in touch with reality, but what you want to do is turn the lemons into lemonade. That's the point. You can appreciate you got a whole bunch of lemons, but you're not going to sit there and cry over spilled lemons, right? You're going to make the most of it. You're going to make some lemonade. So Pollyanna, people will label you Pollyanna because you're like upbeat and positive. That's just their ego trying to knock you down, trying to get you off your spot. Don't let them get to you. One other analogy, let's see, is, people, many of you may be aware of this No Limit Texas Hold'em poker game. And then you can go on TV and you can actually you can see the cards that people have. So you can see the people who are bluffing and who aren't bluffing. And the interesting thing is that some of the best players, it's not that they get dealt great hands. Sometimes they get dealt incredibly crappy hands. But they bluff. They put on a happy face. They put on a face of confidence, of self-assurance. They convey the message that they got a strong hand. And so many times people go out and fold better hands. So the point being is, really, in life, it doesn't matter what hand you get dealt. The key is to play it boldly, play it with confidence, play it with joy, play it with with the most personal power you can give it. Play it with humor and compassion and happiness. And you're going to win a lot more hands than lose them. What else? A few more minutes here. Let me just add to the idea of laughter. Laughter is a form of positive thinking. Laughing and smiling. Laughing and smiling actually generate endorphins. Endorphins are these sort of natural opiates that make you feel good. And smiling will actually make you happier. Even if you don't feel happy and you just fake a smile and fake a laugh, you'll actually generate endorphins and actually generate a mood state change. And it can be infectious, and other people and contagious, and other people pick up on it, and you can get a whole room laughing out of nowhere, and everyone's feeling great. Point being, laughter is strong medicine. In fact, there's this Norman Cousins was this guy who got ankylosing spondylitis, a very crippling disease, and he laughed himself well. He got all these movies of comedians and funny stuff, and he just watched it and he laughed and laughed and laughed, and he laughed himself well. The power of laughter, the power of smiling, very important. Be positive, stay positive, laugh, smile, spread joy. Be grateful for what you got, despite the limitations in your life. Okay, so I'm wrapping up the show. WalterJacobsonMD.com. That's my website. You can go there and see a whole bunch of you can connect to a whole bunch of videos on my blog and a whole bunch of written blog material too. And you can sign up to join Twitter and Facebook, and my book Forgive to Win, End Self-Sabotage, Create the Life You Want is available in paperback, in Audible version, and in Kindle version. Also have a book called Einstein's Cosmic Journey, a fictional fantasy based on the life of Albert Einstein. It's pretty cool. You might want to check that out too. Very inexpensive books. Anyway, look, I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you'll join me next time. Hope you'll call in one of these days and ask some questions and get a conversation going. Anyway, that's it. Take care. Peace be with you. See you next time.